everybody, welcome to Garden Time with Belle. It is a magnificent spring day here in my Zone 6B Mid-Missouri garden. And for me, that means I can take a nice cool day like this and devote it to some really hefty projects. Today it's going to be all about planting out perennials. What I thought I'd do is first show you these beautiful perennials that I'm going to be planting out in the landscape, tell you a little bit about them, what I'm growing, their growth habit, and why I chose to place them in the landscape the way I did. So before we head outside to get these beautiful perennials in the ground, I'm going to ask all of you to please like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate your support, and it really helps me grow my channel and reach out to more gardeners like you. In fact, before I jump into showing you the beautiful perennials that I'm going to plant in my garden, I just have to thank you all for your support of my channel. Today's long form video that I am filming and going to be probably publishing sometime next week will represent my 90th long form YouTube video, and I can't believe I've already gotten to that many videos already, but it is just a joy and delight to share with you all some of my experiences in this Missouri garden and learn from you all. I love it when my viewers leave comments or ask me questions and give me advice, because I am always learning just like you. That's sort of part of the beauty of gardening, is that it's constantly you're learning new things. Sure, you develop some basic skills that you can apply year after year, but no 2 years are the same, are they, in the garden? I mean, Mother Nature, there's so many variables, right? The weather, you know, disease, fungal issues, and all of that, you know, that happens off and on throughout our gardening career. And so I'm always learning, and I really appreciate learning alongside you all. We're starting the greenhouse because I thought first I'll show you what plants I'm going to grow. I want to talk to you a little bit about where they're going to go out in the landscape, as well as sort of give you just, you know, the basic specs on, you know, how to take care of them, how big they're going to grow, the light requirements, and that kind of thing. So let's just get into it. Let's talk a little bit about what I'm going to plant. And let's see, 1, 2, 4 different types of plants are going in the landscape today. 3 of the types of plants are sun-loving and 1 is shade-loving. So let's just get into it. Let's start with the shade-loving, because, you know, shade-loving plants don't get their due. And to find some beautiful, hardy, wonderful shade-loving plants is really important. I know some of you have loads of trees on your property and you really are limited by what you can find. So I'm hoping this perennial that I'm going to share with you will be an inspiration. This is going to be my very first attempt at growing lamium. Look at this beautiful variegated foliage, and you can see it's a trailer. It's a spreader. So let me share with you a little bit about this particular variety. This lamium is called Jade Frost. It says use as a ground cover in the garden. And that's exactly why I chose lamium, because was it yesterday? No, the day before, my husband and I planted a gorgeous 6-foot spiral Green Mountain boxwood in our garden on sort of the north side of the house. And so I wanted to place some things below that to fill in around my new spiral boxwood that would act as a ground cover. So first time ever growing lamium, everybody. And if you have experience with this beautiful, beautiful plant, please leave some comments for me and suggestions below. But that's going to go in the shady part of our property. All right, I don't think the other specs, when you plant it, it says to space these up to 2 feet apart, because I guess they're really good spreaders, and grows to about 8 to 10 inches tall and then spreads out like a ground cover. So yeah, I'm super excited to get this under my new boxwood. Okay, next up, I'm going to try something new, a new perennial. Never grown this before, but I keep seeing other people sharing this. Anybody know what this is? This is a beautiful caryopteris. Say that 4 times really fast. Caryopteris. This one is called Dark Night. So it has these beautiful lilac flowers. And so let's find out about this caryopteris, or commonly known as bluebeard. All right, it says it does best in light, well-drained soil. Allow soil to dry out between waterings. Trim back after flowering. It says it blooms in late summer to autumn. Wow. Okay, so here we are the first week of May. It is not late summer, but it's blooming. And my guess is this beautiful caryopteris is blooming because it's been in a greenhouse. The greenhouse it was raised in that I bought when I bought it from the nursery. And of course, it's been hanging out here in my greenhouse for a couple of weeks until it was time to plant it out. It gets 24 to 36 inches high. It spreads about 2 feet. And it grows great in zones 5 through 9, and I'm a zone 6B, so I'm right there in the sweet spot. And it requires full sun, 6 hours plus of direct sun a day. So you'll understand my placement when I get outside with you and show you where this is going to go. Okay. Today is all about new perennials. I just realized I have never grown any of these plants before. So I'm going to really rely on you guys for some suggestions and encouragement. But can you tell I'm excited about these next two? So these are the other 2 perennials that I'm going to grow. And I have been looking at these online for a couple of years now. And people rave about them. And I wanted to infuse a lot of color in a couple of my garden beds around the house. So I have purchased my first 2 varieties of hardy hibiscus. The first variety I'm going to grow is called Spinderalla. So this is the Proven Winners Summerific series. Do you see that? I hope you can see that right there. Isn't that gorgeous? All right, let's learn about this hardy hibiscus. It will get 48 to 54 inches tall. It can get a max of 60 inches wide. Whoa. It is hardy in zones 4 through 9. Perfect for my zone 6B. It blooms in midsummer through early fall. Its light requirements are full to part sun. I love that. Whenever you can find a plant that can do full to part sun and has some variety in terms of what it requires, that it can handle a little sun, less sun, that's amazing. Something that's that versatile. So, all right, so that's Spinderalla. The other thing that you all may know about these, those of you that grow hardy hibiscus, is they're one of the last plants to break dormancy in the spring. So I'll show you when we go out there, I'll show you the actual plant. They're not in the greenhouse. They're actually setting where I want to put them in the ground. But they end up over time developing really thick woody stems that you leave up all winter long, and then you cut them back in the spring. And it takes quite a while for them to do their thing. So they don't look like much now, but trust me, right? We gardeners have loads of faith. They're going to end up looking like this. And the blooms are what they call dinner plate size. That's the size of these flowers. They get enormous, which means you can see them from far away. And really, they just pop in the landscape. So, all right, Spinderalla. And then I chose a second variety of the hardy hibiscus, also from Proven Winners. And this is a cherry chocolate. Don't you love the names they come up with for some of these plants? All right, so it's a little bit different than the Spinderalla. So let's hear about its specs. So it doesn't get quite as tall. It says it gets 40 inches tall, 48 inches wide. Blooms, again, same zones, 4 to 9, perfect for where I live. Blooms midsummer through early fall. Again, needs full to part sun, and I hope it'll work out really, really well where I live. Okay, so I'd say it's time to get these beautiful perennials in the ground. So I'm going to turn the camera around here in just a minute, and we're going to load up these plants, and I'll show you what kind of materials and supplies I'm going to need for this job today. And let's get outside and get to planting. All right, let's head out to my trusty scooter. Those of you that have watched many of my videos know that we are blessed to have a 10-acre property where I can do all kinds of gardening. And let me tell you, this scooter and that sled are workhorses, because I cannot imagine me zipping around our property to do the gardening that I do without some way to haul everything. So let me get my plants over here in my sled. Oh, and let's get going to the first spot. I think I want to head up to show you this beautiful spiral boxwood that we just planted a couple of days ago, and that's where I'm going to put the lamium, right below it, that beautiful ground cover. All right, we are here. So isn't this great? I've got some video that I'll put up on the screen before I put the lamium in the ground. I took some video, and I think I put it out on YouTube on shorts, the little short videos showing you the process. So if you're interested, check out my shorts video for how we planted up this gorgeous spiral Green Mountain boxwood. So I don't need a lot of supplies for this project today, but what you'll see in my sled here is I've got a shovel, a little rake, I've got the Biotone root fertilizer. I use this on all perennials, shrubs, annuals. It really helps those roots get off to a good start. And then I'm going to top dress everything today with a little bit of that gourmet Land and Sea high quality compost. To amend the soil. And then of course I've got my 2 lamium right here. So if I swing the camera around, let me show you where they're going to go. So here's my boxwood. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh, and I'm thinking they need to be spread a couple of feet apart. So I love it if I maybe put one over here to kind of fill in this area, and one right here to fill in this area. On either side of the boxwood. At least that's what I'm thinking. So let's get to it. Okay, so here I am. I think the lamium's going to be okay where it is. It's sort of hard to tell with ground covers, isn't it? Because I'd like it to work its way, just all around in this area. So the tag said to plant it, let's see, spacing 18 to 24 inches apart. And so I think just on either side of this boxwood will be fine. So I've got my Hori Hori knife, wonderful garden tool. If you don't have one, they are such a great multi-purpose tool, and they will cut through just about anything. So I'm going to just use it like a trowel and make a little hole for this lamium. Okay, so pop those 2 little lamium in. Now let me show you. Let's head down here where I want to plant the caryopteris. This is a spot that I've chosen for my caryopteris. As you know, I mentioned it gets between 2 and 3 foot tall and 2 foot wide, and it needs mostly sun. And this is south facing. Of course, we've got east this way, but the further you get away from the house, the more this area gets sun. So I feel confident that this will get at least 6 hours of sun. In fact, sun's coming up about 6:30 in the morning, and golly, it's almost 7 hours since then, and it's still getting sun in this spot. So I am confident that it'll be fine here. It's going to go next to some spiderwort that just started to bloom, and my false indigo, my baptisia, sparkling sapphire. Oh, that's starting to bloom. So I guess we're going to end up with a little bit of a purple point, and that's okay by me. You've got the deep dark sapphire, a kind of a royal or lapis color on the spiderwort, and then more of a lilac, a pale purple color in the caryopteris. So I think it's going to fill in this space nicely. Same process before. Dig the hole, biotone in the hole, place it in there, top dress with some compost, make sure my drip irrigation's in place, and this little plant is going to be finished. I think all I'm going to need for this is my hori knife, because this is pretty nice soft soil, but I'll probably run into some clay, and so I've got my little tray here that I can offload some of the heaviest clay if I run into that. So that's the plan. The good news is, clay soil isn't all that bad. It can be difficult to work in. However, clay soil actually is, especially this clay soil, it's actually got a lot of life in it. In fact, when we get to digging, in fact, right here, I mean, this clay soil mix, it has a lot of earthworms. When you see lots of worms in your garden, that is a good sign of healthy soil. So it's not all bad. Oh, yeah, there's another earthworm. They're everywhere. There's another one. So yeah, they'll be going back in the hole here as soon as I get it dug the way I want it. So, but some of this clay has got to go. So my caryopteris dark night is in its spot, all snuggled in, and I'm so hopeful about this plant filling in this space. As I said, it'll get 3 feet tall, and which means it'll probably get taller than the top of the retaining wall and a good 2 feet wide. So I'm looking forward to this one. Now that we've got the caryopteris in its spot, we're going to move down this hosta bed and set up over here for my hardy hibiscus. And this is going to be the proven winners. I think it's Spinderalla. And as you know, hardy hibiscus can get pretty massive. The specs on this one, I think, can get up to 5 foot tall and 4 foot wide. So you want to make sure you leave loads of room. And I've been out here already with a tape measure to make sure at its maturity, I have plenty of space. I brought in the shovel. I brought my sled close because no doubt when I start digging down for this big pot, I'm going to come into a lot of super heavy clay soil, and some of it I'm going to keep and backfill, and some of it I might have to offset and toss into my little sled. So that is next on the list. Before we get to planting the final perennial, this beautiful summerific hardy hibiscus, you might notice in this garden bed there are loads of plants, lots and lots of new plants, new perennials. I'm not going to be planting those today. That's going to be for another video, but I'll turn the camera around and explain this bed to those of you that aren't familiar with it. It is one of my trouble spots in my garden, and we all have them, don't we? So this bed faces east and it gets about 6 hours of morning sun. It is in the afternoon now, so most of it is shaded. This is a bed that stays fairly damp. We've tried everything we can think of and that's just how it is. And so I did a whole lot of research and trying to find perennials that can handle moist soil, and this is what I settled on. In the back row, we have some Siberian iris. I believe it's the Caesar's brother variety. Big, beautiful purple flowers, and they'll grow to be about 4 foot tall. Here, and here are my beautiful Limelight Prime hydrangeas. This is their second summer. They're looking really good, and they're doing fine in the bed. Next, I'm going to be planting Monarda or bee balm. So I have Monarda in the next level because it gets to be about 2 to 3 foot tall. And I think the variety is like Fuzzy Buzzy Bubblegum, a really beautiful bright pink. And then I've chosen this Caryx or sedge, I can't remember the variety, for the front. It only gets about 12 to 14 inches tall, and it also does well in a wetter soil environment. But for today's project, to finish things up, that Summerific Choco Latte hardy hibiscus is going to go right here. It's going to get 4 feet or so tall and wide. And the idea is I'm going to give it plenty of space to fill in this area and hopefully camouflage that ugly concrete retaining wall. Well, that is going to do it for today's garden project of getting in my perennials. 4 new varieties that I have never grown before. I am really excited about the lamium that I placed under my spiral boxwood in sort of a shade location because I haven't experimented much with ground cover. So I am really excited to see how that fills in that area, and that variegation, the silver and green foliage, I think will give a pop of kind of brightness to a darker part of the garden. The caryopteris I put in by my spiderwort and my baptisia in that beautiful soft lilac purple color. I have no concerns about that. It went in great. I think it's going to love that location. And then of course you got to see me plant my hardy hibiscus, the Spinderalla variety, and the Choco Latte from Proven Winners. I have such high hopes for those. The only thing that worries me, of course, always when I have to dig that deep and dig into all of that nasty, sticky clay soil. But you know what? I have stuff growing all over the property that I've planted in that yucky stuff before, boxwoods and other perennials and hostas, and they did fine, but it just always makes me a little bit nervous because I really want these two big, beautiful flowering shrubs to really show off for me later this summer. So I appreciate you all hanging out with me today. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. And until next time, I'm going to wish everybody happy gardening.